Hi everyone, I'm Linda Rayburn, an educator with Embroidery Legacy, and I am excited to be able to show you the new Design Doodler embroidery software today. I started testing the program out about 2 months ago, and I am just utterly amazed at the quality of designs you can create just using your pen tablet. So in today's lesson, I'm going to show you how to use the simple running stitch to create this cow design. So if you can hold a pencil, you can doodle a design. So come on, let's get doodling. Okay everybody, before we get doodling, I want to show you a couple of features on the screen, and we're going to make a few adjustments before we get doodling. So the first thing you'll notice is there's a grid on the screen, and here's the grid icon right here. So you can turn it off and on. Right now it's set at the default 10 millimeters by 10 millimeters. I'm going to change that to 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter. I'm going to tap on these 3 buttons at the bottom, and you'll notice the settings pop up. And under settings, you can select grid. And if I just come right here, I can just delete that 0 and turn that into a 1 and 1. So now our grid is set to 1 to 1. Why that is important is because while you are doodling, it helps you keep your size of your objects and your stitch lengths in perspective. I find it a very handy tool. You want to remember that you are creating with thread and not, a pencil line. So thread has depth. Just think of it as between a pencil and a Sharpie marker. So the 1 by 1 grid really does help keep things in perspective. The other thing we have is a hoop. So this is the hoop icon right up here, and you can turn it off and on. You can change your hoop size by again coming on the 3 dots and settings and hoops, and you'll notice that there is a whole bunch of hoop sizes available. If you wanted to create your own, you would just select the plus button and you can enter your own special hoop size. So I'll just cancel that out. I'm just going to use a 200 by 200 millimeter hoop. That just, for me personally, that keeps kind of a reference point, and I know how big my design is while I'm doodling. So I'm going to close that out. Then these, this is the puck feature right here. It's a widget, and so if I turn that off, I can turn it on. This is where you will find all of your doodling and drawing tools right here, or brushes as they're called. And today we'll be using the run stitch, which looks like a pencil right here. And these are the settings for the stitch length, so it's smaller to larger. And this is the freehand tool. We'll be using this today as we doodle our design. There's also standard shapes that are included with this. The other tool we'll use just briefly today, we'll just introduce you to it, is the fill tool, and that is this one right here. So you will be able to create some filled objects on the design as well. So for right now, we're just going to stick with the pencil tool. So if you don't see it right here, just click right here. Now we're ready to bring in the artwork, and here is the artwork icon. And so if you tap on that, you can scroll to where you have saved your artwork in your computer. So today we're going to use this cow and cow artwork and say open. The cow will now appear on the screen. Now we need to resize it. So if you select this icon right here and then tap on the artwork, you'll notice that there are blue lines around this cow. So we can come into the Object Properties tab right here, and we can resize it. So make sure that the Maintain Aspect Ratio is selected. This way it will size proportionately. I want to change the width of my cow to 175 millimeters, and you'll notice that it changed proportionately. I also want to lower the opacity. We just want to use the cow as a background, and we don't want our stitches not to be seen as we are doodling on top of it. We can bring a hoop into the screen by selecting that hoop icon, and then we can grab the artwork and move that cow right in the center of our screen. We can deselect the properties right now. now we are ready to start doodling. But if you notice that I'm going to click off the screen so the cow is unselected, the artwork's unselected, John has incorporated these 3 zoom factors within the doodling software. This is 1 to 1, and this is how you see it right now. 1 to 3 enlarges it, and again, this is an excellent tool to help you keep your design objects in perspective so that you don't overdoodle in one area and create heavy stitches, and it lets you decide, what types of stitch lengths you like to use if you need to change them. And then 1 to 6 is even larger. So depending on if you're using your pen tablet, which I'm using a 22-inch monitor today, or if you're using your iPad Pro with a 12-inch screen, you can change the different sizes depending on what you're doodling. You also have another little zoom feature right here, so you can tap on that as well to make it larger. So I'm going to use the 1 to 3 today, and we'll use the pan tool, this little hand, to move the artwork in position. And we will do this as we move throughout the design to keep our drawing space nice and open so we don't have any tight constricted areas where we can't doodle. So I'm going to just move him right here, and now we can come and select the brush that we'd like to use, which is the running stitch today. And I'm going to have that set on the smallest stitch length. I believe that default is 2.0. And we can select the color that we'd like to doodle our cow in. You've got just the default palette right here, and then there are tons of different thread charts. So depending on your thread stash, you can choose colors that you already have on hand to doodle. So we will just come up here. We'll just go to the traditional design palette, and I'm just going to come down here and pick a dark brown. You can close the palette right here. So now we are ready to start doodling. So with your pen, you're just going to come up and you're just going to start tracing over the artwork. You can make several passes of thread to make the design a little darker in areas, or single passes. Now what you want to remember is to lift up your pen every now and then, and you'll notice that there's this little black dot right here. This is will allow you to snap to anchor. So if we start doodling another line, it will automatically snap to that if you are close to it, and that will eliminate lots of unnecessary jumps and trims. So just pay attention to that little black dot while you are doodling, because it's very handy. Also, the other thing, by lifting up your pen every now and then, that if you would make a mistake, you can select the undo button, and it will just erase that portion of the design you just created. So we can continue back on here. If you went and were just sketching along like almost the entire design, and you thought you made a mistake and you wanted to change it, if you hit the undo button, you will erase that entire area of your design. So I'm just going to kind of come through here and do some more sketching. If you turn off the artwork, that button right there, you can see how it's starting to come along. So this is kind of a loose run stitches, just to kind of create this suggestion of the fur on the cow, and you can just see how I'm just coming in through here. If the area is a little bit darker, then you can do a couple passes of thread, and I'm just going to do sort of his fur around here, just making some jagged stitches, have some overlap, and the whole idea is just to have fun. You can color outside of the lines, because the more you do, the more of a sketch appearance this will have. So you don't have to follow every little detail in the artwork. You can add to areas if you'd like. If you're going through and you check your design, you're going to see that, oh, maybe I need to add some more stitches. Well, just find this black dot right here, and you can then reconnect and just work your way over. So I'm just kind of coming in here and just making some stitches, just following this artwork, and it's just real loose. And the more you play with the software, the more you'll see how powerful it is. I was really amazed at the quality of designs and the stitch out just by using this simple run stitch. So I really encourage you just to kind of have fun, experiment, do some test stitch outs of what you're working on. Maybe come back up here, make it a little bit darker. And I am just coming along the design. We'll start on this horn, and you can just kind of fill in. You don't have to make straight lines, which is nice. It's just going to give you the suggestion of the horn. You can create just different depth to the design by kind of creating some hash marks, which that'll make it look darker. Again, you can turn off your artwork and see how you're coming along. Make this a little bit darker and run along the edge, a couple passes of thread, so you can just work your way down in and around. And that's what's great about a lot of these sketchy designs, that you can come in and make it your own, use it as a reference. So I see a lot of these lines that just kind of curve over, and then we'll come back and make some hash marks. Again, remember to lift up that pen every now and then. And come up here and get more detail within the ear. But what's great about this is that you can just pick up your pencil and continue to follow along. And I'll just kind of come through here. And I'm doing this a little bit faster than I normally would, just for the sake of the video. So just take your time. Don't feel like you have to, race through this design to get it finished. You'll kind of develop a little bit of a rhythm as you're doodling along, and that's what you want. Every person will kind of have their own style. So come here. It's looking good. I think I want to add some more darker tones along the inside of this ear to give it more depth. And come down here. That looks good. Kind of start working on the eye. Notice how we're getting close to the bottom. So this is the time to pick up that pan tool and move the cowl up into position where you want to work on it. And whenever you use the pan tool, to deselect it, and to get back to the brush, you need to click on the brush tool and click the free tool, whatever tool that you were using, and that will reactivate the brush to start drawing again. So I'm going to come through here and get some dark lines in through here. The first time that I doodled this, and when I stitched it out, I had way too many stitches inside the eye, so it was pretty dense and kind of bulletproof. So I've learned just by practicing and doing some stitch outs that sometimes less is more. And remember to use your fabric as color in the design too. So stitching this on a lighter backdrop of fabric, you can create the highlights within this. So I'm going to come up through here and come back down in his eye, just kind of randomly coming through. And what's fun about the Doodler is, unlike traditional digitizing software where you are placing each and every node, you're just having fun sketching on the screen, creating some really fantastic designs just with the tools of the basic running stitch and fill stitches. You will be amazed at what you can create with this. So I'm going to come down here, just kind of work your way around. Remember, this is a sketch or a doodle. So again, turn off the true view, and I'm just going to come through here and get part of this upper nose. You can go over a couple areas where you see that it's darker or lighter. A couple passes of thread will add lots of definition to the design. This looks a little darker over here. Let's pan up again. So we're going to move the cow up, pick up that tool again, and find that black dot, and you'll be able to continue to doodle where you left off. That's what's awesome about this. Come down through here, and it's just all a matter of having some fun. Just kind of some random stitches for his fur. You can turn off the artwork. He's kind of coming along. I'm going to come down here along his nose. See some zigzags right here, and I'm just sketching on the screen. I did doodle this on my iPad Pro, and it worked great too. So you can doodle on the iPad, and then you can then save that design and bring it into your laptop or your regular computer. So I'm just going to kind of come down here and just start working on his nose a little bit and just get some general shapes filled in. Down here I'm going to just fill this area of the bottom of his lip with some stitches. Turn that off, and it's starting to come together. I'm going to pan up just a bit right there. Pick up that tool again. You'll just get in the rhythm of selecting the tool. Let's just get some of his whiskers in here. And I just went over the whiskers a couple times with my pen. Follow some of this. And you'll see by the time we get finished with the nose below, the other half of the cow will be fast and easy, because basically you're just going to recreate what we just did on this side. I'm going to come down here, come up through this side, and just sketch along. It's actually harder to doodle and talk at the same time, so I'm used to just playing around with a pencil and a piece of paper on my desk. So let's see. That, I must have lifted my pen up here, so it jumped over here. Let's just undo that portion. So I hit the undo button, and let's just kind of come back again and around with here. We'll start over. So if you see an area, that dashed line, that means that there is going to be a trim in your design. So if you just hit that undo button, it'll take it off, and then you'll just find the black dot. So you notice how that went from there up to here, so that eliminated that trim. Sometimes if you lift your hand off the screen or while you're doodling, you might then, when you set it back down, get a stray trim. So if you see that, just go ahead and undo it. So now we're going to switch to a fill tool, because instead of coloring in as we did all down through here, we can choose a new tool right here, and it's this fill tool. It looks like it has like a little puddle beneath it. We are still going to use the open shape, and right here these are your different density settings, so that will show you how light or heavy the fill will be. And we can also come back over into object properties right here, and I'll show you how to make some adjustments. So let's right now use the fill tool. So I'm going to come down, and where I see this heavy or dark area, notice how it created a fill right there. I'm going to then select close by that dot, and I have a little fill right here. Now we can, if I start the fill right here, there will be a jump or a long jump stitch over here, so we can quickly switch to the pen tool and just make a little running stitch right there, and then go to the fill tool, and we can continue on with that fill tool without that jump or the trim. And again, let's pick up that running stitch again. Oops, let's pick that run stitch up again, and let's move this right over here, and we will have another fill. So select that fill tool again, and we'll come down here and create that fill right there. Now, when you see it on screen, we can make some adjustments to it so it's not quite so dense, and then you don't see these long trims in the nose. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the sequence view, and you can see by this docker of all the different shapes that we have created so far within this design. And if you select this one, this was this first piece right here, we will skip the travel stitch and we will select these two other fill stitches. So those are selected, and then we're going to come into the Properties tab. We're going to select Travel on Edge, and notice how those lines disappeared within your fill. When you select Travel on Edge, it's a default setting to 1.2 millimeters, which is a nice light density, but I'm going to make it a little bit heavier, it's a little bit darker so that we can see it on screen. And again, we'll add some depth to the design. So if we deselect, and I just tapped on my screen, I'm going to select this tool right here, this select, and then I'm going to select this. It's called the inclination, or it's the stitch angle. And if we move these two little arrows, you will see that it will change the stitch direction. So I can do that with these as well. And again, that adds some different depth and perspective to your design. So let me just grab that. Every now and then it gets a little fiddly. That looks. And I'm going to come up through here, add some shading up here, more detail, add some of the little bit longer whiskers that are on the cow's face. We can come through here and add these side whiskers. Then come in here, and what I'm doing is I'm just kind of coming up and kind of following around his little chin, and just make some random. They don't all have to be the same size. Move your way around, and you'll just see how this simple run stitch really adds so much character to your doodle. Come up here and make another like little pass around through here. Let's do like a 1-to-1 so far, and let's turn off the artwork, and you can see really how your sketches really come to life. So let's go back to 1-to-3, and now let's move our way up through the other side of the design. So let's go back to the 1-to-3. I turn the properties off right now. Let's move this right in place. So that's where we see where we're going to start, is we're going to pick up that black dot. So pick up the tool again, and we'll just start sketching the cow's this side of the face. I'm not quite sure what this cow, what kind of cow it is. If anybody knows, let me know. There's a little group of cows, maybe 5 or 6 down the road from us, and one has horns like this, so that's kind of why I decided to doodle it. It reminded me of that cow. Let's see. I'm gonna come through down through here, and you can make some different angles through here. So we're going to work our way back up through the eye again. Putting in more detail. Come down through the nose, and you can, again, you're just following the artwork. Once you stitch this out, no one will see the artwork. They're only going to see your fabulous stitches. So I'm going to throw some more longer tufts of hair up through here. Come in and start working on the eye again. Again, remember trying to keep it not too heavy. Let the software do its job along with the fabric. And just add some crosshatches. I am not an artist. I can doodle and trace, and that's what's so fun about this program. And I'm just turning this off just to compare it to that side of the eye. Looks pretty even. So the sky's the limit with what you can create. If you've got an artist in the family that likes to draw, well, you can turn their drawings into artwork, and then you can doodle over top of them and then stitch them out. But you'll be surprised. The more you practice, you'll develop your own sense of style with this program. I've really learned to love just using the running stitch and the fill stitch. I've had really beautiful designs turn out just by using these simple stitches. So let's turn that off again. Yep, that eye looks pretty good. So let's pan down. We'll pan down, and we're kind of getting on the home stretch with the ear and the horn. Remember, we panned down, so we've got to pick that tool up. So here we left off right through here. A couple more heavier lines. And start sketching along this ear, very similar to what we just did before, kind of making sure the lines are not all straight. Remember, this is an animal, and the last time I checked, cows are out in the field and they might not be as tidied up as you'd think they'd be. So unless they're maybe going to the state fair or something like that, most cows are not like you're coloring in a coloring book. So just have fun sketching. Use the different stitches and the stitch angles to create these different random shapes. And again, you can turn off your artwork and you're like, okay, I want to come down here, make some lines going across like this to add a little bit of depth. And as it comes down, you notice the artwork gets a little bit lighter. You kind of come back up here, go on the outside edge. And that's what I love about this doodler, is that you can continue on and add to areas where you think it needs a little more depth and definition. So I'm going to come back up here, go on to the bottom part of the ear, start bringing the brow in so it overlaps some that fur. And let's turn that off again. Yep, it's looking great. So we're going to come up through here and we can start on that horn. Just take some nice long strokes of the pen just to kind of follow that shape of the horn. Where it's heavier, go over a couple times. And stop short in some areas just to add some more detail. There we go. We can come back up here and get back into the fur on this cow. Changing some stitch angles, overlapping areas to suggest this is all fur. And come back in through here. Kind of follow that little top of that brow line a little bit. And here we're coming back up to the top. And just sketch around. We're kind of coming on the home stretch here. And you see how quickly it is to put together a great design with just this simple running stitch. So let's take a look at this. Let's put it back to 3 to 1. Let's turn off our artwork. And isn't that amazing how well just a simple run stitch and the fill stitch works to create this design? So let's see if there's any areas that need any additional stitches over them, but I think it looks really nice. So what I'm going to do here, we can save this if we come over here to our little file folder right here, and you can type in the name cow right in the file names, and you will save this as a JDX Embroidery Legacy file. And this is going to be the native file format for your doodle designs. And so when you open that up, you can come back in here and you can edit the designs if you need to. And we will look at that in some future lessons. But today we're just going to keep on the simple basics of the running stitch and a little bit of the fill stitch. Then when you're ready to save this as your machine file, you want to come down here and you will select your machine file format, and then you can type in the name of the design as well. And I'm going to save that, and so you can then send that off to your machine. You also have a slow redraw right down here if you want to use that, and you can watch your design totally stitch out, which that's really fun too, to watch it all come to life. So I hope that you enjoyed learning this lesson with me, and I look forward to showing you additional lessons in the future where we will expand on the fill stitch and more of the running stitch. Well, I hope you had fun doodling along with me today. And I just bet when you stitch out your design, you're going to say, holy cow, I doodled that. So I look forward to seeing you in another class. We'll explore more great features in the Design Doodler. So happy doodling and see you soon.